But we are starting today's show as Glasses in Session by going to the Glasser guest line and checking in with our girl, Tryst Krick. Give TK a follow on X at Trysta_Krick, and make sure you check out the Heat Check NBA podcast with Tryst Krick. T, great having you on the show. Obviously want to talk college basketball with you, want to talk NBA. Let's start in the college game and on the women's side, because a major storyline of the week was Juju Watkins suffering the ACL tear, which just sucks that she's not going to be able to go the rest of the tournament. But from a betting standpoint, really fascinating, right? USC takes a big dip in the futures market. They're only 1.5-point favorites now against Kansas State. So just talk to me about the whole USC situation, your thoughts on their game on Saturday, and then moving forward without Juju.
To me, Peach, thanks so much for having me. You're glowing, so happy to be here. It is fascinating. You see it and you wonder, okay, I know Juju is a massive piece of this team, and she was the leading scorer. But for this team to only be a 1.5-point favorite over K-State is probably my favorite bet of the weekend. I'm ready to put max bet on USC because look at this. The team as a whole is not garbage like Vegas is kind of making it seem like they are. Kiki Iriafen, by the way, played for Stanford last year and put up 40-something points against Iowa State in, I believe, the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16 there as well. Kiki's that girl. She put up 36 points against Mississippi State. She can do a lot of the same things that Juju can do on the floor, but she's just a little bit bigger. Her game has had to change a little bit because of Juju. Juju's obviously the big superstar, but Kiki has enough firepower and skill to be able to put this USC team on their back. So I love USC minus 1.5. I would be willing to take alternate numbers if I could get them.
I'm with you. You mentioned Kiki, T, what she did last year in the tournament. She had 36 in that game against Mississippi State the other day. So Juju went down, and she just took over the lead role. I'm with you. I love USC in that game on Saturday. Any other bets that you like in the women's Sweet 16 coming up?
Yeah, number one, we have to talk about the UNC-Duke rivalry, right? So they split in conference play. I think Duke ended up getting the last game and beat UNC pretty handily. But this is a different situation, right? Like, this is butt-puckering zone. The NCAA tournament is where teams get tight. If you watch the Duke game against Oregon, you saw what Duke can do. They can go very cold for very long stretches of time. And UNC is going to be pumped up as a 5.5-point underdog to try to compete and try to upset Duke. So to me, with a very offensively shaky team, I kind of like UNC plus 5.5. I wouldn't mind sprinkling a little bit on the money line at plus 200 as well. And then your Terps, Peach, 18.5-point underdogs against South Carolina. Maryland's a very resilient team. Alabama, your other squad, Peach, threw everything but the kitchen sink at Maryland. Forced OT, forced double OT. Sarah Barker scored 45 points, NCAA record, and yet Maryland was able to be resilient enough to prevail. So I don't think Maryland's going to beat South Carolina, even though I think South Carolina, spoiler alert, is a beatable team. But I don't think they're going to lose by 19 points either.
That Bama-Maryland game, T, in the round of 32, that was March Madness. That game was unbelievable. Double overtime, like 116, 112, whatever it was. Unbelievable game. I like both of those plays. I like the UNC look. Before we get to the men's side, anything you're doing in the futures market? Because now with the Juju injury, it's kind of looking like it's going to be UConn and South Carolina. Those two teams are kind of on a collision course. Do you feel that way, or do you see value on maybe another team?
I see value on two teams, the ones from LA, really. To me, to be the number one overall seed in UCLA and be plus 650 to win the tournament is a bit disrespectful. I don't think that there's very many teams, South Carolina included, UConn included, who can do anything with 6'7" center Lauren Betts at all. She is a block machine. She had 4 blocks against South Carolina. They beat the hell out of South Carolina by 15 points at home earlier this season. Chloe Kitts, South Carolina center, is 6'1", and she's their center. I don't know how anybody is going to be able to really keep up with her. And then I don't think this is going to happen, but I think this is a good bet. Juju going down, obviously we talked about this earlier, it's massive. But USC 25-1 as a 1 seed? 25-1? Where you've got Raya Marshall, who's really good. She's 6'4". You've got Avery Howell and Kaylee Heckle. They're the freshman guards who are standing in for Juju. They call Kaylee Heckle K9. Listen, anybody named K9 can put buckets on your headpiece. Pause. This team's very talented. So I knew it would change the odds. I just didn't know that the injury would change it to 25-1. So I am putting my hard-earned money on UCLA at plus 650 and on USC at 25-1 because I just think the value is too great to take chalk in UConn, who has the curse of Candace Parker. They haven't won since 2016. And South Carolina, who I think is very beatable and very small.
All right, I like it. Look at both the LA teams on the women's side. On the men's side tonight, T, Sweet 16 starts. We got 4 really good games. Favorite bet in any of the 4 games? What do you got? What's your favorite?
Ooh, favorites. I think it's got to be the chalk in Duke against Arizona. Duke is just a buzzsaw. Duke is a lot like, not the same team, obviously, in terms of how they're constructed, because this Duke team can shoot and UConn could not. But I don't think anyone is standing in Duke's way at all. I see this being one of those close games in the first half, and then Duke pulls away like they did last game against Baylor, especially considering that you have 4 40% three-point shooters on this Duke team. Not only do you have Cooper Flagg, you've got Con Kneppel, you've got Tyrese Proctor, you got Sion James. This team is very good, and I don't see Arizona, who we saw against Oregon, very shaky, went down 19-4. If they do anything like that, have any mental lapses, it's going to be a bloodbath right away.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like Duke as well. I think anything single digits, I'd lay it with the Dukies tonight. That's a favorite that you like. Who's an underdog that you like in the Sweet 16? Could be in a game tonight, tomorrow. T, give us a dog that you like that you might even think could win outright.
Ooh, I like Purdue, plus 8.5 versus Houston. What does Houston do? They have scoring droughts early. They're one of the slowest starters in the NCAA. And Purdue, as an 8.5-point underdog, feels a little disrespectful. We know that they've been a little schizophrenic. They feast on opponents at the crib. We were there against Alabama Peach, and I know they've lost 6 of their last 9 games entering the NCAA, but 5 of those losses were against tourney teams. The other came in an in-state rivalry game on the road. Houston, bad out of the blocks. Purdue is that three-point shooting team. We call him Traylor Kolick for a reason. He can light it up from 3. They've got multiple players who can do all kinds of things, 3-level scoring. They feast on being the underdog. So I think if Houston was to fall down 10, they're not going to be able to use their three-point shooting and their defense to get back into the game. And I could see Purdue winning this game outright. And then a little bonus one, I like Arkansas plus 5.5 as well. One of the better defenses in the league. They've been awesome with Boogie Flan. If you look at what they've done with Boogie Flan, their record is really, really good. They're super athletic. They've underperformed most of the season, but I really think that Arkansas is a sleeper in this tournament.
Talking with Tryst Krick here on Send It In. All right, T, before I let you go, got to get an NBA thought or two from you. Boston and OKC, kind of feels like those two are destined to meet in the NBA Finals. As you know, though, in the NBA, it feels like the last couple years, kind of the general consensus of like who the teams are that are going to meet up in the finals, like hasn't been happening. We thought it was going to be Boston-Denver last year. Minnesota took them out. Do you think, though, it's going to be OKC or Boston, or is there a team that maybe you think could upset one of those?
I mean, that's the thing I think will happen, just because both of those teams are so good in the variety of different metrics, right? Boston, they're the best three-point shooting team volume-wise. They've got a plethora of wings that can do everything. They've got multiple all-stars that can shoot from deep. They've got a 6th man of the year in Peyton Pritchard. They're really well coached. They're already champions. I think it's going to be tough for anyone in the East to beat them. OKC certainly has the defensive rating, best defense in the league, best steal percentage in the league, best deflections in the league, best net rating in the league. And you wonder, though, I need to see it in a half-court setting. I need to see it in the playoffs. I think that's what will happen. But if a team were to beat OKC and the team was to not be OKC to go to the finals, I think so much of this depends on seeding. So, for example, if the Warriors go into the play-in and they have to see OKC in the first round, don't like the Warriors. But if they sneak into the 6th seed, I think the Warriors could be a team to go deep as a sleeper. Jimmy Butler is feeling it. He's going to the free throw line like crazy. Steph Curry is reinvigorated. You still have 3-point shooting in Buddy Hield. Draymond Green feels like he's had a resurgence in his game as well. What can you get out of Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga and the rest of these role players like Brandon Pajemski? There's 3 weeks before the playoffs, but I think the main concern for a team like Golden State is get out of that play-in as best you can. Because if you end up at 8 seed or a 7 seed, it's going to be really, really tough for you.
She does it all. NBA, men's college hoops, women's college hoops. Trysta Krick, make sure you give her a follow on X at Trysta_Krick and check out her podcast, The Heat Check with Trysta Krick. TK, love having you on. We'll talk to you again soon. Have a good rest of your day.
Talk to you soon. What a day in sports, Peach. What a day in sports.
What a day, T. Awesome day.